a lot of the stuff I just mentioned and more in the course of what to notice about myself or someone else. I feel like it is up to us to ask for help in advance or on the spot. So that was like a huge takeaway, and that is what they teach in the course, is to be emotionally open and supportive to people who are going through this. Hello everyone, in this video I would like to share with you some of the things that I learned when I took a postpartum doula class or course online in the year 2020. It is the year 2024, and I am implementing a lot of these things in my life that I learned during the course. And I feel like every parent or people that are interested in becoming parents should learn at least a few of the basics when it comes to what the postpartum time looks like. And as everyone's looks very different, this could give you some insight in what you can implement to make your postpartum easier than it would have been if you hadn't known some of these details. So I'm just going to share you a few tips and things that I learned in this course that I took. There is a lot to cover, but I just want to give a few takeaways. And just note that I have my little co-star in the background. I am a full-time mother, so I have my baby with me all the time. And there are moments like these where I can steal away that she's happy and enjoying herself doing something else without me for a few minutes. So if you hear her in the background, that is what's going on. She is happily playing. I first want to cover that in this video, I am not really going to be going into what a postpartum doula is. I am just giving you some information that I learned, that I took away in my experience in my postpartum days, that I learned from this course. I will also leave resources down in the description bar, some of the things that I talk about, or even the organization that I took the course through, just so you guys know that I did take the course and that everything I'm saying is legitimate in terms of where I got my education. The first thing I learned from this course that I want to cover is that you cannot have enough support during postpartum. Now, I know that a lot of people are in different situations and everybody has a unique family. However, just giving you some of my examples. I'm going to use a lot of examples from my life just to give you an example of what I'm talking about. Before I got pregnant, I knew after taking this course that I wanted support anywhere I could get it in my family and in my inner circle. And the support that I chose was my immediate family, my mother-in-law and my mother. So throughout the first month, I had my mother-in-law and mother come at different times. And so I let them know ahead of time so that they could prepare for that I wanted them to be there for me and that I would love and appreciate their support during this really crucial time of becoming a first-time mother. And my husband was also available and supportive for me the entire first month that I was in postpartum and had my daughter. And it was a challenging time, to say the least. Like, everybody has their own experience, and I just feel like everyone kind of goes through some kind of challenge. And for me, if my husband wasn't there, it would have been really hard. He was able, thankfully, to get a full entire month off. And this was actually paid through our state. So if you are in California, or I believe in the United States, you can apply for parental leave, either yourself or with your husband or both. And I think it's around 2 months that's actually covered, and it's partial pay. So it's, it's not your full salary, but it's something, and it's worth getting. So that's just a little tip, but side note, but he was able to take that whole month off and support us and be there and see his daughter grow and in that first month and develop. And it was really amazing to have him with us. You cannot have enough support. I would ask for support wherever you can. If you live in a place where you have more friends who are offering to do like meal trains for you, definitely take advantage of that. And also being supportive to other mothers. I mean, I know that there are plenty of moms out there who feel like they're alone in this time, or they're becoming new moms, and it can be really like, I don't know, I feel like it was daunting for me just becoming new in this new area of my life. So just having the friends that I did who came to check up on me and give me some insight from their experience was really helpful. So always ask for some kind of support, which leads me into the next key takeaway that I got from this course was you can't be afraid to ask for help. And if you're going to take away anything from this video, I have implemented this in many areas of my life. And it's to ask for help. If you don't ask, you don't know who can help you. And that I feel like is becoming more accepted, is to ask for help. Ask people. And people want to help you. Like, they asked me all the time, like, what can I get you for your baby? Is there anything I can do for you? And sometimes people don't know what they can do. There's the very unique person who will just like go and do something for you and won't even ask you. But I feel like it is up to us to ask for help in advance or on the spot. So definitely, if you're going to take anything away from this video, is don't be afraid to ask for help. Please don't be afraid to ask for help, because people want to help you. Another really important topic I want to touch on of what this course taught me is, especially if you are someone who is like going into a new family space, is don't assume that when you go over there that everyone's going to be okay with you like holding or touching the baby. If I were you, if maybe you have never had children, or maybe you're like forgot what it's like to be a first-time mom, I would go over there preparing to be your own host and to host the parents in their own house. I stress this because during the first, at least the first month, definitely the first couple of weeks, if you are going to see a mother who's learning how to breastfeed, for example, that is a very crucial time for the mother and the baby to create a bond and become really close and learn that skill. So you do not want to interrupt that unless you are invited to hold the baby. So for example, you can go over to their house and you might notice that like the kitchen is a little messy, or like maybe the house could use a little tidying up, and you could just go in there, kind of assess, say hello, and then when they go down for a nap or whatever, like just kind of sneak your way into doing things, or just start doing things. Like sometimes it's hard for people to ask again, and you just can key into that and just start doing stuff. And like, I had people do that. I had a mother friend who came over, and it was like 2 months postpartum or something like that. And she just started doing my dishes. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like, I didn't ask her. She just knew. She had a child under 1, and she knew. She had been there, and she was a first-time mom. And she just started doing my dishes, and I was so, so grateful. She actually also brought me over some food. So that's really nice too. Like, if you can bring over a food, like a dish, if you know what they like, that is like one of the most helpful things that you can do for a new parent in the early postpartum phase, because we want to keep new parents fed. We want to keep them hydrated. We want to keep them rested and feeling well, because they need to transition smoothly into this time of their life. It is very important to remember that. So go into a home ready to host yourself and the family. I know it seems backwards, but I feel like you will also feel good knowing that you were a part of this phase in somebody's life when their baby came in, and they can look back and thank you, and like I feel like you guys can create a bond that way too. And when they're ready, they might hand over the baby to you, and you can enjoy that moment with the baby. But I feel like this is about them more than the baby, because the baby will be taken care of as long as the parents are very well taken care of. So that's just a short segment on that, but I keep that in mind for sure. In postpartum doula courses, they really teach you how to spot any type of like mental distress. So we've all heard of postpartum depression. We've all heard of postpartum anxiety. We've heard people talk about it. Maybe you know someone who has it, or who has experienced it. They really stress to doulas that this is like one of your main roles, is to be able to learn how to spot postpartum depression onset, or anxiety, or anything of that nature, because the sooner that you address something like that, the easier it will be to navigate out of it, and the more support that the mother and the family can get. Postpartum doulas, they are not trained medical professionals whatsoever. We just are taught in the course how to kind of like look for certain things. So this is just an example. If you go into a home, if you're a friend or a family, and you go into somebody's home and you notice that like house is a disaster, but on top of that, you notice that maybe the mother is not looking rested at all, that they might be like really stressed sounding or looking or anxious, or maybe it looks like they haven't slept in like, I mean, I know we don't sleep, but you know what I mean? Like you can get a sense that maybe there's something else going on underneath. So a postpartum doula is when they're on the job, especially if they've been with the family from day one, they can kind of assess that and see if it gradually happens or if it just all of a sudden happens. But a postpartum doula is taught to like see that. So just an example with myself, okay? I learned all this stuff in the course. Like I learned a lot of the stuff I just mentioned and more in the course of what to notice about myself or someone else. And I did get to a point personally, this could be a whole other video because I did experience some anxiety and depression, but I got to a point where I had to check myself and had to be like, okay, do I need to ask for help? Do I need to ask for more help? And this was, mind you, this was like 3 months in. So I had already had my family come stay with me. I had my husband for a month. And then I was kind of like, which a lot of mothers are like, you know, we're kind of on our own sometimes. If you're a stay-at-home mom, like, you know how that is. And so I was in this place where I was like, I felt a little bit lonely. I felt like day in, day out, this is like my newborn, you know, I'm on her schedule and I'm feeling like I'm so tired, like my body is still recovering from birth, you know? And I was like, okay, I had to check myself. I had to like go to my husband and be like, hey babe, I feel like I need some extra support. And I had already gone into my pregnancy telling him a lot of what I'm telling you all in this video, that like, you know, he needs to look out for some things. And so when I had this conversation with him, when I came to him, he was able to be open to what I was saying. He didn't look at me like, oh, you're crazy, like you should just suck it up and deal with this. No, he was very open and receptive, and he knew that I was being serious, and he knew that I needed more support. And mind you, we are not like a wealthy, you know, beyond our means type of family. Like we do live on a budget right now. And even then he was like, hey, if you need somebody to like come in and like check up on you, if you need somebody to help you around the house, like we can, you know, we have a little bit of savings so where we can like help get us through this time. Like if it's a couple weeks, if it's a month, like whatever you need. And just him saying that to me was really helpful. Like just him being there for me to talk to and to tell him like, I'm going through a hard time. This is really hard. Like I had a breakdown a few times, but I was like, just wanted someone to talk to. So if you can be that receptive person, like if you can go to a mom and say, hey, You can come to me whenever you need to just vent, whenever you need to cry, if there's something that you really need support with, I am here for you. I am your person. If you can be that for somebody, that is life-changing. That is what helped me, just knowing that I could express myself to somebody, to my husband, and he could receive it and not judge me and be like, whoa, you're crazy, you know, like get over it or whatever. That was game-changing for me. That was like a huge takeaway, and that is what they teach in the course, is to be open, to be somebody, to be emotionally open and supportive to people who are going through this. Huge, huge game changer. And sometimes that's all that people need from the postpartum doula, is just to be there, and to be like this loving entity of like no judgment, and like, hey, if you need help, I can like go reach out to these people. Like, I know this person who might be able to help with this or whatever, and just have that resource, because you're tired as a mother, as a new mother, and you might not have the energy to do that. So a postpartum doula is a really great, resourceful person. That is another thing that they teach you, is that you want to be involved with your community, your birthing community, and with other mothers and other practitioners. So like the community outreach is huge in the postpartum, in the birthing world, which I've learned is like there are so many resources. If you're just a mom and you're like looking for a lactation consultant, you know, there's a huge community for lactation consultants. And there's also something that a really great resource is a bunch of Facebook, like birth world Facebook pages. And there's like a lot of doula pages as well. So if you just need like a resource guide, then check out Facebook, and I can leave some resources down to you about that. Everything I've talked about, I'll leave. I'll pin it down below, because I feel like these free resources are amazing and everybody needs to know about them and utilize them. Which leads me into the next topic. Is when I took this course, there were a bunch of reading materials that they requested that we read to finish the course. And I will leave a bunch of links below for the books that I read and some of my favorites. And a lot of these books I feel like you could read just to know about your human anatomy. I mean, like we can all know more about that, right? So like I learned about breastfeeding, I learned about my pelvic floor, I learned about postpartum depression, I learned about nutrition. There's so much that I learned through the reading materials that they requested. Like the reading materials were such a great takeaway from this course that I wouldn't have known like otherwise. So that was really cool. I read all these books that I'll pin below. Some of them are really thick, full of information, and they're great. So that's definitely a huge takeaway. And that leads me into the last segment. I learned that breastfeeding can be very, very demanding. It can be very challenging for a lot of women. And just going through this course, and like I got the reading materials for this as well. I read a few books on breastfeeding, even like in my spare time, like other books. And just learning that it can be very challenging was pretty eye-opening. And I actually do breastfeed. That was a whole journey in itself, but I was very successful. And the one thing that is also stressed is to like really find your support with breastfeeding, because I feel like there's so much, like people go into breastfeeding and think, oh, it's so natural. I just put my baby on my booby and they eat and we drink and we be merry. But from somebody who is successful in it and who I feel like I actually had a pretty like easy-ish time. Like I didn't have very many complications that a lot of people do. Like I am actually an oversupplier and a lot of people struggle with undersupplying. So from someone who actually, you know, and I'm still breastfeeding, that has been doing it for this long and was successful with it, it is still challenging. So definitely taking this course kind of gave me more resources for that and opened my eyes to how it can be easier. So to finish off this video, I just want to let people know that you don't have to have a postpartum doula to have a really great postpartum experience, but just having the knowledge of what I mentioned in this video, I feel like will be really, really helpful. And if you know somebody who's going through postpartum or who wants to know more about it, send them this video, because I feel like everybody should learn more about this topic. It's not something that can be underestimated, or, you know, everybody's experience is different. So the more we learn about it, the more it's not this foreign thing of like, oh, maybe they get postpartum depression. Oh, that's really crazy, or whatever. Like, it's not as bad as it sounds, but I feel like if people learned more about it, it wouldn't be such a weird, touchy topic, you know? And it could really help somebody out just know that, like, it's okay if they're feeling these things, and there are so many resources to help you. All right, everyone, I really hope you enjoyed hearing my opinions about these topics. And if you liked the video, consider giving me a thumbs up. Also, let me know in the comments below if there was something that you learned throughout this video that you might not have known before. Thank you so much again for watching, and until next time, take care. Bye.